Today we're going to take a look at a legend of Bodhidharma. This legend only has a few short lines, but regardless, it contains amazing liberating power. According to this legend, Hui Ke, who would later become the second patriarch of Zen, went to Bodhidharma and expressed his frustration about not being able to attain peace of mind. So he went to Bodhidharma and said, "Please help me pacify my mind. I can't find peace." And Bodhidharma simply responded, "Show me your mind and I will pacify it." And upon hearing that, Hui Ke tried to look for his mind. He tried to find the thing that was disturbed and wanted to show it to Bodhidharma so he could help him pacify his mind. But surprisingly and amazingly, he couldn't find his mind. So he responded to Bodhidharma, "I've looked for my mind everywhere, but I can't find it." And Bodhidharma's simple reply was, "There, I have pacified it." Now, in a sense, to try to make meaning of a koan such as this really is besides the point. It stands in of itself. Its liberating power does not depend on the meaning we ascribe to it. But if we do decide to take a more analytical look at this short story, then we can find some tremendous liberating realizations in there. Now, what's amazing about this story, of course, is that Hui Ke couldn't find this suffering, tormented mind which he wanted to pacify. And this not finding was exactly the pacification he was looking for. His assumption was that there was indeed something that needed to be healed, that needed to find peace, needed to be pacified. But when he couldn't find that which was apparently suffering, what need was there to pacify it? What need is there to liberate that which we cannot find? It doesn't even make sense in the first place. There is no need to pacify something which is unfindable. And so, upon seeing through that construction of there being something which needs to be pacified, peace was naturally there. Freedom was naturally there. It's not that upon seeing through that construction, additional steps were required in order to find peace, to rest in completeness. Simply seeing that this construction was not rooted in actual experience was enough to be free from its imprisoning power. The construction of there being the suffering mind was what created the suffering in the first place. But seeing through it completely removed all its seeming power. What we can realize here is that a construction in of itself is not a problem. We can think the thought that there is someone who needs to be liberated. That thought in of itself is harmless. It doesn't do anything. If it's seen that this thought doesn't have an actual basis in our experience, that's enough. The thought is seen through. No more work is needed. There is no need to dissolve the appearance of this thought in of itself, because it's harmless now. It can't do anything. It has no power. What's fascinating about this exchange as well is that Bodhidharma didn't require Huike to come to any kind of definitive resolution. It's not that he replied, well, there isn't a self, so who could it be that suffers? Nor did he say, there is a self, and you need to liberate it. The not finding was simply enough. There was no need to arrive at any kind of psychological or philosophical conclusion about the reality of the self. The self simply can't be found. That's it. There is no attempt to land at any kind of position, no attempt to affirm that there is no self, nor an attempt to affirm that there is a self. Simply recognizing that it's unfindable is enough to see through that construction. And this is very instructive for the way we approach spiritual practice. Because very often we try to do way too much. We try to take something that is meant for the attainment of fulfillment and turn that into a search for conclusions, a search for definitive positions at which we can arrive. We want to know and understand something. We want to be able to definitively say, there is no self, or there is a self. But all of that really is too much work. It is simply recognized that a self cannot be found, and therefore a self which cannot be found doesn't need to be liberated, doesn't need to be pacified. So the approach here is very pragmatic. We're not interested in a philosophical conclusion. This is about fulfillment, here right now. And this fulfillment doesn't ask anything of us. It doesn't require any knowing. On the contrary, when the self is not found, when the supposed object which seemed to imprison us is not actually found in our experience, then we just rest in this deep, ultimate not knowing, where nothing is missing, where this is simply complete.